Mute.
The Tony Hawk series really needs no explanation. The games were highly influential, not only for the gaming community, but even for skateboarding as a whole. Many people even got into skateboarding thanks to these games. I've been to the series ever since Pro Skater 2, and played every single entry all the way until Pro Skater 5. You can imagine my disappointment to see its series fall so far at that point.
How does it feel to have lived long enough to see all of your favorite franchises go down in flames?
Feels great.
But with how faithful the recent remake was, my hope soared. Well, at least for a little while.
Hey, there's some bullshit!
Though with the series that's been running for 20 years now, there's no doubt going to be oddities here and there. Now, the whole Iceberg meme has been a bit overdone, considering there's one for almost anything you can think of.
Bruh.
But screw it.
I don't give a fuck.
I like these kind of videos, and it'll be fun talking about a series that I adore. In case you somehow aren't familiar with these types of videos, I'll make it short. The very top is surface level knowledge, typically things most, if not all people know. But as we go lower, the more obscure and strange the topics will get, eventually reaching the bottom with info not many people know about. Or they'll just make up some spooky shit to try and scare you. I was able to find these Iceberg images on Reddit, so big thanks to these users here for making these images. But I thought that it wouldn't be interesting to only do one of these. Instead, I picked topics from all 4 of them, and compiled them into one giant list that will hopefully cover as much of the series as possible. I only exclude the ones that were obvious jokes or seemed too ambiguous to really be able to research them properly. Both you and I know that saying, I don't know what this is, and nor can I find any information about it for the 50th time, would get old really, really fast. As for most footage, I'll be using Thug Pro, a mod for Thug 2 that has almost every level from every mainline game, only switching to footage of said game if it's unique to that entry. But that's enough explaining. Let's uncover the secrets behind the Tony Hawk Pro Skater Iceberg.
Get dressed, let's go!
Stage the show not.
On the school level in Pro Skater 1, if you look at the wall that is next to the ditch, you'll see the cover art for the album Freedom by Suicidal Tendencies. Would have been cool if the following remakes of the levels continued this sort of thing. In the Boston level from Thug 2, if you head up towards this quarter pipe and smash into this hotel room, you can find this nerdy looking kid watching TV. If you interact with him, he'll start swinging his staff awkwardly around the room. This is of course in reference to the Star Wars Kid, a popular viral video that blew up around the time Thug 2 was released. He is also a playable secret skater, so if you want to play as an ancient meme, you can. While we're in Boston, around the bank area towards these brick quarter pipes, you'll find a grainy portrait of the Birdman himself. It's pretty self-explanatory. Throughout the series, there's been a long-running gag involving someone and a goat alone in a secluded area. I'm sure it's not for any kind of non-family friendly activity, I can assure you. Starting in Pro Skater 4, there has always been a goat hidden in a level. Whether it's in the back of a dingy alleyway or hidden in a porta potty, there would always be a goat there. These would eventually stop by Proving Ground's release, as by Neversoft would stop developing the series at that point. And I guess as one final farewell, you can actually nod a spin on the horns. Rest in peace, goat. We hardly knew. Throughout Pro Skater 4, there are various different minigames that you can do that are scattered among different levels. Most of these don't add to any kind of progression towards a career, but more serve as a small distraction from the main challenges. Most notable ones to me are the monkey poop dodgeball in the zoo, the cat fight under the bridge in London, and the ghost baseball in Alcatraz. In the LA level, if you head towards this concrete pillar and wall ride on it, the physics have a bit of a hard time calculating it as you quickly spin around it. Honestly, it's just fun to see how long you can ride it before the game kicks you off. On the Hawaii level in Thug 1, if you head towards the back of the level, you'll find this tiki statue with the word evil written on it. Jumping into it will warp you into this hellish area where you ride down a wooden tube and fall into a giant lava pit, all while a deep, sinister laugh accompanies it. This is also how you acquire this
Venice Beach
level during story mode. Making a deal with the evil entity to relive one of the best levels in the series? Sounds kind of familiar. Right next to the evil tiki, there is a text on the wall that reads 2345 insult way. Mirrors cannot lie about how you look, and luckily for you, they cannot laugh either. You're so ugly, I bet your mother fed you with a slingshot. God. First I get thrown to a Hellscape Pocket dimension, and then I get insulted how I look. Next thing you're trying to make me feel guilty. Oh. In the airport level in Pro Skater 3, there's a helicopter that you can grind if you head towards the right at the start level into this luggage checker. You'll find a stationary helicopter. Grind the helicopter blades and you'll get the Adios Chopper gap. Then you'll see it fly away from what I assume is in reference to the chopper from the hangar level in Pro Skater 2. Though you don't get any access to any secret area after you activate it, it just kind of awkwardly flies off to the right. In the warehouse level on the original Pro Skater, as well as the various remakes, if you grind the entire set of quarter pipes located near the back of the level from right to left, you'll get the holy gap. Performing this grind is much harder in the original version, as the first two games were much slower compared to the others. Also on the note that in the N64 version of this gap was censored among others that we'll talk about later down the Iceberg. Pro Skater 1 was originally going to be a downhill racing game. Many extreme sports games around this time either focused on 2D environments or they were 3D, but they focused on something like racing with the ability to do tricks. The only one to break the mold was Thrasher Skate and Destroy, as a focus on the player skating in open 3D environments with a heavy focus on realism. However, this was quickly overshadowed as Pro Skater 1 released just
1 month before.
Now, why did Neversoft change from a standard racing game premise to the game we know today? Well, at the end of every track in the original, there was a little skate park that players could mess around in while they waited for the race to finish. Many players actually preferred skating freely around the park than they did racing down a linear track. After noticing that, the Neversoft team then quickly scrapped the racing idea and made the series we know as it is today. Officer Dick and Private Carrera were the original secret skaters that made numerous appearances in the series. Officer Dick was unlockable by completing every challenge in every level and getting gold in every competition. Carrera, however, was only unlockable by entering a cheat code, as she would replace Officer Dick's spot in the roster. She would later be truly unlockable following Pro Skater 2 by nailing every gap in the game. Carrera would also face a couple censorship changes thanks to her more, provocative nature. Things such as certain deck and trick names were changed in the N64 ports, and she was even replaced entirely by another character named Trixie on the Dreamcast and Xbox ports of Pro Skater 2. It's not really known as to why such a change was made, considering that it can be argued that Trixie is just as provocative as Carrera and that the change was pointless, but hey, what can you do? The hangar from Pro Skater 1 and 2 is completely redone to be more a memorial towards all the work Neversoft did for the series. Their name, logo, and all of the mainline Tony Hawk games made by them hang from the walls. Yet you may have noticed that on the Underground 2 cover, a certain someone is missing from it. Bam Margera isn't anywhere to be seen on it, and instead the spot seems to be covered by somebody using the clone snap tool in Photoshop. He was most likely removed as Activision probably didn't want to pay royalties for somebody that you can't even play as in the game. A bit of a shame since he played a very prominent role in that. Though considering how he's doing now, it's probably best for him to stay out of the limelight. On Tony Hawk's American Wasteland, oddly, Little John was a secret character that you could play as. I'd say odd, as none of his music was featured in American Wasteland. Among other celebrities that are playable, Jason Ellis, Billy Joe Armstrong from Green Day, and a robotic version of Tony Hawk. Well, with the first layer done, let's dig deeper to see what else we can find. On the cruise ship level, there's a captain that every now and then will make announcements over the intercoms.
Yeah, I like it. Right there. Yeah, right. Oh, yeah. Captain? Becky, you are incredible.
Captain?
Yeah, I love it when you call me Captain.
Captain, look. Is that mic light supposed to be on?
Oh, what? Hey.
There is also an Easter egg that can trigger if we smash all the windows in the greenhouse. Doing so will cause this dialogue to occur.
You skater down there! You have shattered the glass and set me free! From the fiery depths I have returned, the true Captain Jennings! That imposter will not be bothering us anymore! Yes, for your diligence I offer this bit of advice. Don't jump in the water! It's wet! Thank you.
Nothing happens after that. It's just a fun little thing for something that a small portion of players would actually do. At the zoo level, if you look through this set of binoculars near the hippo exhibit, you'll see this. It only lasts a brief moment before it quickly cuts off. What's more interesting to me, however, is that the scene takes place in an entirely different location than where you're in. Maybe one day we'll be able to find and explore the tiny hippo island for ourselves. Not that we would really want to be honest. On the Vancouver level, there is a hockey puck that you can bounce around. Shooting one into the goal will cause a score to pop up. This sparked a rumor that if you scored enough goals in the hockey rink, you would unlock a secret hockey player to play as. This was proven false, however, since there's nothing in the game that would suggest such an event could occur. The goal counter is purely just for show. In the downhill jam level, if you manage to get into this room hidden behind these glass panels, you will quickly notice that the gravity in this room is kind of wrong. Like, ride on the roof kind of wrong. My guess is that no one on the dev team expected anyone to get into this room, so didn't apply any kind of proper physics to the surfaces. Which is to be expected, as it is incredibly hard to get in there, thus the wonky gravity. On the suburbia level, if you head towards this house construction site, you'll see an empty pool. In there is graffiti that reads SSBSTS. This translates to Switch Stance Back Tail Slide, one of Bam Margera's more signature moves. This trick was showcased in the CKY series of videos. Think of them as Jackass before Jackass. Pranks, stunts, and general early 2000s dumbassery overall.
I'm 19, I'm gonna be 20 in like December.
No, this isn't referring to some kind of lost Russian dub of Underground 1's story. Instead, what I believe it's referring to is that upon entering this building, if you listen closely, you'll hear voices coming down from this hall-looking area. They obviously aren't speaking any Russian, but just gibberish.
Standing out here yelling rabble, rabble, rabble isn't going to help anything.
To promote Underground 2, a Flash game was made to introduce the new mechanics into the game, such as spray tagging. I'm sure you can see it is extremely bare bones, with the only two things you can do is tag and jump over obstacles. It is still available to play on certain sites, but it is a bit more of a pain since Flash went off itself, so I wouldn't recommend it unless you want to experience a strange piece of Pro Skater history. You could do this, however, which is kind of funny, I guess. In the Manhattan level, if you head towards this area based off the famous Pyramid Ledges spot, and this planet you'll see a small sign that reads, No Kurt. This is likely just some inside joke at the Neversoft offices involving one of the devs named, well, Kurt. We'll see more Neversoft inside jokes later down the Iceberg. Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure was one of Disney's attempts to cash in on the action sports craze at the time. Developed by Toys for Bob, yes, the same one that developed the Spiral Trilogy and Crash 4, it's basically a stripped down version of Pro Skater 4. And I quite mean that in a literal sense, as they both run on the same engine. They even point that out on the back of the box. You traverse through different levels themed after Toy Story, Lion King, Tarzan, among others, as either yourself or different Disney characters. Gameplay wise, moves such as bonuses, double tap tricks, and wall rides were removed entirely. Hell, every character only has 2 flip tricks, grabs, and so on, as well as having only one special move. It's definitely baby's first Tony Hawk game, though even playing as a kid, it felt pretty restrictive. Hardcore fans or the curious might find some kind of enjoyment out of it, though mostly at its expense, let's be honest. If you play the series casually, the words butt slaps and air shuffles probably have you a bit confused. These are more advanced techniques used by more experienced players that exploit flaws in the engine to give them advantages. So be prepared to hear some technical talk. If you ride off a bank that will launch you in the air and perform a flip check, then quickly spam ollies during that small time frame in which you are airborne, you can be launched higher than what a standard ollie would give you. This is used to further extend combos or help boost you to a place that you would otherwise have trouble getting to. The most people can do is 2, but it is possible to get 3 or even 4 in if you time it perfectly. These can also work in quarter pipes, but aren't as useful as you don't get launched that much higher. Air shuffling is a technique that essentially allows you to fly as long as you keep inputting the command. To perform it, while in mid-air, hit both shoulder buttons to get off your board, then quickly input the bonus command. Successfully performing it will cause you to do a mid-air ollie, and a series of them can cover quite the distance. This is mainly used to get across a large section of the map without sacrificing any of your balance meter. Personally, I only use it for fun, as it's more optimal to find a line that helps your multiplier and score. Though in a case such as this, air shuffling can actually be beneficial for you. Underground 1 has two endings. The first one involves you challenging Eric to where you try to beat his line as he sabotages you. Of course, your character comes out on top and wins the Hawaii tape back fair and square. However, if this is your second playthrough, the scene plays out a bit differently. This time, instead of taking on Eric's challenge, your character does a sensible thing and just knocks out Eric and takes the tape for themselves.
Takes the tape.
As you can see, the second ending is the superior one. Pro Skater HD was one of the many remakes / re-releases of the first two Pro Skater games. It was made in sort of a response to the backlash both variety games faced during their run and claimed it was returning to the series' roots. It's kind of a shame it sucked as well. However, it was able to release a DLC pack focusing on Pro Skater 3 that featured a whopping 3 levels from that game: Canada, Airport, and Los Angeles. It also added back the ability to revert. Yes, I said added back the ability. You had to pay real money to extend your combos from vert tricks.
Very cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
Frankly, these are just worse playing, sterilized versions of these classic levels, and you should only play them if you're very curious. Otherwise, I'd just stay away from them. American Wasteland has various different shops that upon entering causes you to load into this small section. You can't do much other than shop or walk around, though there is a way to enter these stores without stepping through the door. In Beverly Hills, if you wall run along this wall here and use the set restart glitch, you'll be able to climb all the way to the top, walk towards this ledge, jump down towards this grassy area here, and then walk towards the street and jump into it. You will then clip through the floor and enter the shop's interior. From here you can do, well, whatever you want. Jump around, do flatland, or just run around in circles. When you eventually get bored, just start a high score run, end it, and you'll be teleported out of the area. There are other underground shops in each level that contain them, though I wasn't able to pinpoint exactly where they were, let alone be able to reach them. On the Barcelona level, if you look through this window, you'll spot a bloody hospital bed that's violently shaking. Now this appears to be a harmless and possibly somewhat creepy Easter egg, however this is only visible on the PS2 version of the game. Yet other copies on different systems don't have this Easter egg, even on Thug Pro it isn't there. People thought that they simply removed this for unknown reasons, however if you manage to clip into the building, you'll see a bed there hidden out of view. Again, no one really knows why this was removed other than a possible controversy avoidance, though still that doesn't make any sense either as it's still viewable on the PS2 version. Pro Skater 3 and 4 had last-gen ports since there was still a significant player base on those systems at the time. These played just like the previous two games, just with the added movesets such as reverts and spine transfers, though hidden combos, double taps, and others were not implemented. Some of the more hardware-intensive levels were cut and replaced entirely with new levels exclusive to that generation. A large chunk of Pro Skater 3's levels were axed, but the levels that were available got expanded, such as this new backwards area in Canada. The only exclusive level it got was Downhill, a linear track that consists of just some jumps, rails, with a skate park at the end. Pro Skater 4's Zoo level was axed but instead got two new levels, the Sewer and Little Big World, one being just a series of skate parks connecting underground and the other being on a large kitchen counter with your skater shrunk to the size of a mouse. These levels are serviceable in my opinion, with Downhill being the weakest, though it may just be a nice nod to the original idea for the series. At the very start of the Los Angeles level, there are 3 curved ledges. If you manual all the way down any ledge, text will appear and say, "You manualed the Andy THPS bunker ledge." This is in reference to Andy THPS, a longtime member of the Pro Skater community. Eventually he would be picked up by Neversoft to work on the series and has even worked on the recent remake as well. For a series focused around skateboarding, Neversoft sometimes made errors regarding trick animations. From tray flips being sort of half animated in later games due to it being a double tap trick, half cabs being labeled wrong, and just some weird animation decisions in American Wasteland such as the nollie double kickflip. The most infamous example in my opinion being the hard flips. For those who don't know, a hard flip is just a combination between a frontside pop shove it and a kickflip. Yet Pro Skater 1, it's animated to look like just a very vertical pop shove it. They did fix it in later games, however it's the more vertical version of it. While not technically being wrong, it's somewhat uncommon to do. Granted, these are just a few small mistakes as every other trick is performed correctly or, well, close enough. In Pro Skater 2, during the Retro Tony Hawk video, after Tony finishes his run on the half-pipe, you can see what is clearly a visible UFO in the background before it quickly fades to more footage. Did the Tony Hawk games just verifiably prove extraterrestrial existence and just went hidden for all these years?
No.
This was filmed at Expo 86, a fair that was held in Vancouver, British Columbia in Canada. There appears to be different various themes from around the world, one of them being space themed that featured, you guessed it, aliens. So sadly a random skate video didn't single-handedly prove alien life, though it would be funny if it did. In the N64 version of Pro Skater 1, there is a code that, upon successfully activating, will cause a black and white photo of a woman to appear on the screen and, well, that's it. She just sits in the upper corner looking back at you. People have speculated that this was Tony Hawk's then wife Erin Lee. While the resemblance is similar, it still hasn't been confirmed. There is also another code that would display another woman's face, this of a shorter-haired brunette woman. Some fans theorize that this was one of the dev team's girlfriends, as upon watching the credits, there is a line that reads, Lita T. I said I'd put you in the game somehow, so here you are. Believe it or not, there is a third and possibly final random woman portrait. Behind the Edge of Reality boxes in the mall level, if you have the N64 expansion pack inserted, this woman's face will replace the blank white space that's usually there. This time no one's even sure who it even is. Who are these three women, and which one is supposed to be Lita T? Even if one of is identified as her, we still don't know who the other two are. So that leaves one question. Could this be the work of a serial killer who at the time worked with the dev team for this port and as a twisted joke put the face of his victims in this game hidden as a cheat code so anyone who entered it could witness their portfolio to thousands of people? No, most likely not, but hey, it's fun to be a conspiracy theorist every now and then. Okay, another section down, but we still have a lot more to cover. A lot more. So why don't we dive deeper and see whatever is sitting underneath this iceberg? Back to the N64 version of Pro Skater 1, there is a glitch where if you enter the initials TYR as your save name, the game freaks out and the letters RXJPYHMB will only display. Usually this would crash your game if you picked any of the options, but since I was playing on the emulator, it seemed to run just fine. Just the text being bugged. People speculate that this is some kind of overflow error, where entering that specific series of letters makes the game just not want to work. I don't know how any of that works, so I'm not going to act like I do. On School 2 in Pro Skater 2, if you gain access to the gym and enter the basketball court, right next to this quarter pipe there's a hidden rail that will lead you out towards the Gonz rail if you hit it just right. Eventually it will stop you, but if you keep holding the grind button it will shoot you out into an unrendered version of the level. While interesting, there isn't much you can do as giant holes litter the map and you can't even jump into one as invisible walls block them. One of Neversoft's earlier titles was a game called Apocalypse, a third-person shooter that stars Bruce Willis. During early development of Pro Skater 1, before Tony and the others jumped on board the project, Neversoft used Bruce's model as a placeholder in early builds of the game. His model can even be seen in the beta version of the downtown level. Everyone knows who Doom Guy is, the Demon Slayer who runs in pure anger. But did you know that he's an unlockable skater in the PC version of Pro Skater 3? He has no unique voice lines or special moves other than some deck graphics that feature some sprites from the original Doom games. One other odd thing I noticed was that in Doom Guy's room in Eternal, there is a skateboard stashed near his desk in what I believe is a reference to his appearance in Pro Skater 3. Which if it is, I don't know, it's neat I guess, it's not really that mind-blowing. On the Russia level, if you head towards his building, you'll spot a snowman. Ramming into it will just cause it to fall apart. However, if you aim your ollie just right, you'll actually decapitate it. Blood will promptly shoot out from its neck and you'll get the gap fatality. This is clearly an obvious reference to the Mortal Kombat series. On the demo for Pro Skater 4 in the 2002 Jam Pack Winter compilation, if you manual at this spot here, a countdown will initiate. Once it reaches 0, a sorority girl will come out of the building. Well, in this case more so face to the wall. This little Easter egg was removed from the final version of the game as manualing in front of it will cause nothing to happen. There is no real reason as to why it was cut, let alone why it was here to begin with. DJ Qbert is a DJ, obviously, that has been active since the 1990s. One of his songs, Cosmic Assassin, was featured in Underground as well as a small cameo from him can be seen from within the Slam City Jam level. He even has a unique gap associated with him as well. The Thin Man is a goal-oriented NPC in which you have to help him get access to his backyard by obtaining an axe. However, you might have noticed that his door is slightly cracked open, though it will close upon looking at it. Quickly squeezing into it will cause you to fall endlessly in a black void, while a roar echoes in the background before resetting you outside. Pro Skater 4 had a similar Easter egg in the carnival level where if you enter the doors outside a haunted house, you'll be teleported to this trippy landscape where you write down the tongue of some demon. I'm sure I'm not the only one who was freaked out by this when they accidentally discovered it for the first time as a kid. Also, if you play as the Demoness, the Thin Man will have hearts appear on his head, and entering the house, text will come up saying, "Welcome home," implying that the void leads to hell itself. Okay, just the name of this caught my eye, and I'm sure it did for most of you as well. And yes, that's an actual entry in one of the pictures. You can see it right there. At first I thought this was a reference to the brand Hookups, a board company that focuses on, well, yeah, I'm sure you can see, as one of the boards is featured in the game. However, after scouting East LA top to bottom, the most I could find was this piece of graffiti. I mean, I could kind of see it, but it's nowhere near the way the entry claimed it to be. This is in reference to a video made by Radrat. He's a YouTuber that primarily focuses on reviews of different kinds of skateboarding media and mini documentaries on well-known skaters, among other things. One of his earlier videos, How Tony Hawk Ruined Hard Flips, he expresses his grievances towards how some of the pro skater games would portray certain tricks incorrectly. Yet due to the massive popularity of the games, younger, more inexperienced skaters would take those presented in the game as fact despite them being animated or named incorrectly. He also goes over another video made by Tony Hawk in which he teaches how to perform a hard flip but in a very odd way, making an otherwise simple to understand trick unnecessarily complicated. Radrat would later express his regret for making that video due to the generally unprofessional nature of it and him not making his points clear enough.
The super nerd, which is true of course, but like the super nerd who has researched how a video game, but I don't actually know anything about skateboarding. Like that's what people assumed when they watched that.
In the Thug 2 debug menu, there are various different cutscene tests. These are a bit odd as some take place in a completely different level unlike where they're supposed to be. There are also some weird ones like where it's just a static shot of an extremely low poly bird, or this one to where the camera zooms onto this egg looking thingy, and this one where I don't even know what this is supposed to test. Going back to Boston, if you make your way into the State House, you'll see various portraits of politicians in clown makeup. Some have stated that this was done to avoid copyright, but photos or videos of historical figures don't fall under the same copyright laws. Also, these are a bit too grainy to make out who they are anyway, so if anyone can figure out who these are, it would be greatly appreciated. Most of us know what Metacritic is. It's a review site where most people go to see how a certain game scored amongst journalists and the public, whether how biased that is. On the site, there is a list where it ranks the best video games of all time according to critical acclaim. Pro Skater 2, after all these years, still ranks number 2, right underneath Ocarina of Time and above Grand Theft Auto 4. Not bad for a game where you flip a piece of wood around. The N64 port of the first 3 Pro Skater games faced many censorship issues due to them having the hidden E rating on the console. Thus, some elements such as blood and certain lyrics had to be removed or changed. Certain gaps and tricks also had to be renamed, such as the Handy Gap being renamed Spanky Gap and the Holy Shit being renamed the Holy Cow. Censored Gaming made an entire video that not only covers the names but other censorship in the series as well. So instead of just regurgitating what he said, I'll just link his video in the description. 3 down, 2 to go. Let's see what awaits us as we delve into the abyss itself. There's a goal in the airport level in which you stop pickpockets by ramming into them. But did you know that these guys were originally referred to as terrorists? During the development of Pro Skater 3, Neversoft originally planned to have an objective that revolved around terrorists. Who knows how that would have played out, but thanks to the events of 9/11, these guys were renamed to pickpockets. Though in the game's files, these guys are still referred to as Terrorist A. The mall is a somewhat divisive level amongst the community. The somewhat limiting downhill-like design, the fact that in the original version, once you hit the end of the level, it ends your run. But if you pay attention to the finer details of the level, a sort of mini-story is being told. There are hints that the mall you're riding down is either on the brink of closing or has already been closed. This can be seen amongst the banners across the mall advertising an out-of-business sale and how most stores are seen to be shut down despite it being daytime once you reach the plaza section. Pro Skater 1 and 2 later reinforce this idea as the mall is completely in ruins as graffiti and garbage are everywhere. This could also be a nod as malls are generally dying across the country with more convenient online services becoming the norm. The original version of the downhill level is vastly different from the version we got in the final game. It features a wide open linear track with different ramps laid throughout the track, eventually leading to this large spillway section that exits with a tunnel before shooting out into another spillway, and finally finishing off with a ramp that launches you into a skate park area. This area sort of feels like a kind of early concept for the Chicago level. This level is very bare bones, and very clearly just more of a rough draft if anything. On the Thug 2 version of Canada, if you manage to get to this floating ice block and not spin on tip, the message, "Whoa dude, you nailed the rock," will appear. This doesn't unlock anything, and it's just another bunker ledge like secret message. International versions of Western-made games are not a new thing, and it's common for changes to be made to appeal for that country's audience. However, it's much rarer for content to be added exclusively for that region. The Japanese version of Pro Skater 3 and the Korean version of Pro Skater 2 are such examples. The Japanese version of Pro Skater 3 added 3 pro skaters: Junosuke Yonesaka, Shin Okada, and Hiroki Saigusa. All 3 even had their own video parts once you beat the career mode with them. Pro Skater 2 decided to get a bit more weird to cater towards the South Korean audience though. Members from the K-pop group FinKL were playable skaters, as well as 8 other songs were added to the game's soundtrack. Of course I can't play any songs if fear copyright, but let's just say it does not fit with Pro Skater 2's atmosphere at all. What's even funnier is that upon completing the career mode with any of them, nothing will happen as the game will crash upon obtaining the final gold medal. It's kind of a shame they didn't get any kind of sort of music video as a reward. Did this actually make copies fly off the shelves in South Korea like they initially thought? No. In fact, you can get a copy for this as low as $5 plus shipping, brand new on some sites. So if you are interested in owning this weird little piece of Pro Skater history, I'll leave a link in the description below. Many of the THPS titles had mobile ports on various different systems. The most well-known ones are the ones on the GBA developed by Vicarious Visions, the same studio that would later handle the current remake, though there were much lesser known ports that some have even been lost to time, such examples being the cell phone ports of Pro Skater 4 and Underground 2. Screenshots do exist, yet no gameplay has yet to be seen other than a couple seconds on some advertisements as seen here. There is a ROM found for Pro Skater 4, however it freezes at the main menu upon booting. Another lost or more so cancelled Tony Hawk mobile game was Shred Session, an endless runner that featured a multitude of game modes that, of course, had paid win elements in it. The game received very negative reviews and was so panned that Activision even pulled it from digital marketplaces before it was even fully released. Ouch. On the New Orleans level, if you wait at the swamp long enough, you'll see a low-quality PNG float across the water before vanishing behind a tree. Well, I think this is personally more just a generic swamp creature rather than Bigfoot because, well, we see Bigfoot in the story mode and he looks nothing like that. Also, the quality is just too low to really make out any distinguishing features. If you head towards these buildings in the Barcelona level, sitting near one of the windows is a gingerbread man looking out. These buildings in real life are called the gaudy gingerbread houses, and Neversoft most likely wanted to make it more literal by putting an actual gingerbread man in one of them as a joke. Homestar Runner was a series of flash cartoons that starred the titular Strong Bad amongst other characters. The series gained so much popularity that it even had its own series of Telltale games released in 2008, back when that meant something. Some people at Neversoft must have been fans since there are actually a couple references to Homestar Runner in American Wasteland Underground 1, specifically towards the Teen Girl Squad series of shorts with quotes such as
Arrowed! MSG! Children!
and the fitting
Late 360, shove it to boneless!
on top of other quotes such as and
Burninator!
there is actually a hidden free cam mode on Pro Skater 3. To activate it, just quickly hold the start button as soon as you see the third freeze on the spinning eyeball loading icon. Activating it successfully will cause the pause screen to become slightly glitched, and you are now free to look around the map at your leisure, and also get a good look at some of the things Neversoft might have hidden around the levels out of plain sight. The Punji Pit is a hazard object that has been in the series since Pro Skater 2. It is a pit that consists of large wooden spikes, and falling in it will trigger an impalement sound before resetting you outside to the playable area. The question is, why call it a punji pit and not something more well known like a spike pit? For those who don't know, a punji is a series of sticks that are shoved into a fine point, and it was used as traps during the Vietnam War. They were typically made out of wood or bamboo. These traps were very deadly, and a lot of soldiers fell victim to them. It doesn't help that some had poison and even feces smeared on them to make them even more lethal. Now, why is such a brutal trap inside a skateboarding game? Well, no one really knows for sure. The only possible answer was that during development, one of the Neversoft members remembered the existence of punji pits and used that to stand out more instead of the more generic sounding spike pits. The Pro Skater series is no stranger to cut levels, either cut remasters such as School 1 originally appearing in Thug 1 rather than Thug 2, and the more notable cut Paris level from Pro Skater 3. Pro Skater 1 had a level that was cut during the production of it. That level is the freeway level. It consisted of you riding around in an under construction freeway using beams and other construction to make your way throughout the level. It's pretty barren and seemed to only have some work put into it before development on it was cut entirely. There also seems to be no proper physics applied to the surfaces, letting you ride among the walls at your will. On the East LA level, there is a Neversoft dollar placed behind this building. There is a way you can clip inside the building and get a better look at it. Upon examining it closer, it appears to be nothing but a small Easter egg. On the Pro Skater 2X version of the Tampa level, there are these posters plastered around looking for a lost dog. Little did the owner know that it was closer than they'd realize. If you make your way across this wire onto this roof, you can find said dog relaxing on a chair watching TV. 4 layers done, and on to the final. Let's finish this and head towards the abyss below. I'm sure you've seen videos where people try to perform pro skater combos in real life, though YouTuber and pro skater Jonny has made numerous videos attempting to replicate as many tricks from the series in real life. From the more realistically doable tricks such as a fandangle, 540 flip, and finger flip airwalk, to the more ridiculous ones such as the switch guitar, backspin air, and the wax slide. If you are interested in the series, the links will be provided in the description. When playing the story mode in Thug 2, there are these challenges that require to beat an arcade machine's high score. All the machines through levels have different high score names, however the final level, Skatopia, the names actually spell something out. At first it may look like gibberish, but upon closer examination it actually reads 10 hardcore years kicking your ass, a nice nod to Neversoft turning 10 by Thugs 2's release. Throughout the series, there has been various different out-of-bounds areas that are referred to as Heaven and Hells, and no, not that kind of heaven. As ominous as the names sound, they are really just two different types of the same thing, large empty spaces filled with nothing, the only difference being one is above level and the other is below, hence the names. Thug 2's version of Canada for some reason has one of the largest hells in the series. Shimming across a set of quarter pipes and dropping at this moment will cause you to sink through the floor onto these large concrete tiles. Here you can just walk around and view the level from underneath, though there is an invisible set of water in which upon touching it the game will respawn you back to the surface. Nearing the end of Neversoft's run, the company was slowly starting to merge into Infinity Ward to help assisting developing later COD games. The first one being COD Ghosts, as there were some Easter eggs referring to the company hidden throughout the game. Unfortunately, however, Neversoft would soon be disbanded and fully merged into Infinity Ward as one, shutting down the studio entirely. As one last hurrah, the remaining employees burned a cardboard cutout of their logos, sending it off Viking funeral style. They would soon be given custom-made Bowie knives with their logo on it. As sad as it was to see such a beloved studio close down, they made damn sure it wasn't a boring one. Every game in the series has some kind of debug menu or mode. Proving Ground is no different, though the models seem a bit broken if you view the cutscenes through this menu. And by a bit broken, I mean they look like this. There seems to be different varieties of polygonal abominations, such as them looking like unnerving husks with their eyes removed and limbs being broken, to beings where their face and body seem to shoot out in every direction or looks like to be sunken in like a black hole was placed directly into their skull. Another thing you may have noticed that it uses Tony's model as a placeholder for those who were originally supposed to be there. And from what I can guess, since the model wasn't rigged to fit the skeleton of those models, it makes them look like this. Funny, creepy, personally it's up for you to decide. Disappointingly, I was unable to find any kind of whispering voices in the New York level in 1 and 2, nor does anybody even know of its existence as I couldn't find any information on this. I searched throughout the entire level sitting spots that seemed to be like the most likely areas for where whispering could occur, but nothing came up. The most I could find is that waiting near this fenced off wall in the Brooklyn Banks area, oddly enough the fence makes this loud shaking sound. I initially thought it was a cat here near the area as in possibly climbing up a fence, but none seemed to be anywhere near where I could hear it. I also thought it was just possibly a strong breeze rattling the fence, but nothing else in the level indicates that. No loud gust of winds or anything. While I couldn't find the disembodied voices that this entry was talking about, I may have discovered another weird mystery entirely. In the airport level, upon completing the Stop the Pickpockets goal, this terminal sign will change from Welcome to the Islands to Noel owes me $5,000. Oddheader did an interview with one of the series producers and he explained that in the Neversoft offices around the time, there was a bet on which state a certain automobile manufacturer was going to open in. Of course, Noel must have lost the bet and owed whoever won $5,000. Iggy Van Zant plays a prominent role in American Wasteland's story, as the entire game's plot mostly centers around Green Pipes Point, a legendary skate spot that is buried underneath the land Iggy was squatting in. He's mainly known for being hot-headed and crude, but there is another trait about him that quickly gets brushed over later throughout the story. When you gain access to the casino, which is just the casino from the Las Vegas level from Thug 2 Remix, there is a mission that involves you shooting water balloons at old ladies, but Iggy also states this during the intro cutscene for the mission.
Ah, sweet. You know, the good thing about old ladies is that they
are like a fine wine that ripens with age.
No. They move slowly and they make for great targets.
This is never brought up again, and it's just there as a one-off joke. The DS version of American Wasteland, renamed American Skateland for some reason, has a hidden rail similar in vein to the hidden rail in Skull 2 we covered earlier. Landing on it will take you out of bounds into this tiny hidden off area. Upon riding this wall, you'll be teleported to the sky and probably fall into the LA River. The most unusual thing being the message that accompanies it. Dashend says the Courageous Skater lives, and the other being Castine says hide in the bushes in Beverly Hills. No one knows what these mean and who these people are. Could they be tied to some never-before-seen Easter egg? If so, why are they hidden in such a hard-to-find area that would make it almost impossible to discover naturally? Like the woman faces, it's just maybe something we never know. While playing all the Tony Hawk games, have you ever stopped and wondered, gee, I wonder how all these games fit into a coherent and potentially canonical timeline? Actually, many have teased the idea with examples such as these, but users Iceberg Forever has made one of the most well-known timeline theories in the series, in which he tries to connect every mainline game, so I'll try to be as brief as possible with this. First, he counts the games made by Neversoft, so any spin-offs developed by different studios don't count. He then states by saying that any of the Pro Skater games are just that, fictional works in the Tony Hawk universe. The real story begins in Underground 1, as the Courageous Skater starts their journey there, as both them and Eric try to go pro. Once they make it to Tampa Am, at the same time the events of Project 8 begin. How are the 5th and 8th game in the series connected, you may say? Well, he speculates as the reason why Tony is there in Tampa to begin with was the continuous search for undiscovered talent, likely either globally or across the US. With Tampa Am being one of the biggest amateur skating competitions, it's a no-brainer. That would explain why Eric's name can appear on the leaderboard. At the end of Underground, both you and Eric, despite his reputation, are known as being the best new pros. After some time passes, Underground 2 starts with the character being kidnapped, most likely by Bam's group, and wakes up in the Woodland Hills warehouse along with other pro skaters and are told to participate in the World Destruction Tour, a tour in which only the best skaters go around the world causing havoc for points. During the events, a producer named Nigel Beaverhausen asks if he can record the rest of the tour and sell it. Everyone disagrees and promptly tells Nigel to go screw himself. They then arrive in Australia, where they soon find out that Nigel has been secretly recording the events without their knowledge, and since they are in a tie, both your character and Eric are the newest pros. They challenge both to see who can prank Beaverhausen the hardest. The Courageous Skater beats Eric and the group leaves him behind. Eric then exclaims that he doesn't have a ticket home, but makes an appearance in Baltimore and Proving Ground. So either he was just trying to pity them or later found cash to leave Australia. Nigel makes one final appearance in New Orleans as he tries to bargain with the team to try to monetize their tour one more time. Before they tell him to leave, Nigel states that he will pay for the entire trip if they agree. Look at their expenses, both teams agree, and their tour is made into a documentary, as it can be seen on this poster in Proving Ground. Of course not before embarrassing Nigel one last time. 1 year later, after Underground 2, American Wasteland begins. Though the events in that game are completely separate from the events related to Eric, though an ad for Mindy's magazine, probably named American Wasteland, can be seen in Proving Ground as well. So the timeline goes as follows. Underground 1 takes place during October 2003, with the events of Tampa Am taking place during January the following year. Project 8 begins during this time frame, in which both stories end in March of 2004. Later in October the same year, Underground 2 begins and ends only 1 month later in November. American Wasteland kicks off during March of 2005 between somewhere during August of that year. Finally, the events of Proving Ground start in October, though it's unknown where the events ended, as it was the last game in the mainline series.
So guys, we
made it, from all the way to the top to the bottom. And if you made it all the way through, congratulations. Now I don't want to get into the whole YouTuber spiel about how long it takes and how time consuming it was, as none of you really care about that kind of stuff, but any kind of support on this video would be great. And I hope I can make more videos like this, or just even talk about just some more obscure extreme sports games in the future. But for now, I'll see you
on the next Angry Joe Show.
The cook is in your face.